One of the reasons I started taking benzodiazepines was because of health anxiety. I was having these panic attacks that were so convincingly, to me, cardiac events. I thought I was having a heart attack or some other catastrophic cardiac event, to the point that I actually went and saw a cardiologist 3 different times. I was convinced I was having a heart problem, and during the panic attack itself, I was convinced I was going to die. These instances of extreme health anxiety and these panic attacks, they all dissipated when I was on benzodiazepines. The health anxiety came roaring back during benzo withdrawal. Benzo withdrawal is probably the worst thing that you can experience if you have an exceptional amount of health anxiety to begin with, because benzo withdrawal is capable of mimicking so many symptoms, so many physical symptoms that can be associated with all sorts of health emergencies. The symptoms are very real when you're experiencing them. The feelings, the sensations, that's real, 100%. It's not imaginary. It's just the root causes that are often associated with those symptoms are, in this case, all linked to the benzo withdrawal and not actually a fundamental, foundational health problem. You're not having a stroke, you're not having a heart attack, you don't have some kind of cancer that's taking over, as much as it might feel that way. And as we all know, if you've experienced a panic attack, if you've got a particularly intense bout of health anxiety, it's hard to just tell yourself in the moment, this is all happening because of this thing. This is all happening because of the benzo withdrawal. I'm actually perfectly fine. Convincing ourselves of that is very difficult. In this video, I'm going to hopefully tell you a few things that will make it a little bit easier. As with all my videos, this is not medical advice. Please do see a doctor if you're going to make any serious consequential choices when it comes to your health. I'm just some dude on the internet. First thing I would recommend is to actually read up and learn about what the possible symptoms are for benzo withdrawal. This might seem counterintuitive, because our brain can often be complicit in amplifying symptoms, actually making them worse, making us think about them more, making us start to imagine symptoms that, just reading about symptoms, we might start imagining that we're having them, just because the brain can be so suggestive. And during benzo withdrawal, this mind-body relationship is on another level, to be honest. It goes somewhere that most of us probably never thought it could go. But on the other hand, if you do not know the symptoms of what you're experiencing during benzo withdrawal, if you don't know the full scope of what can be experienced during benzo withdrawal, you might get blindsided by a symptom, not know what it is, be so convinced that it's something not related to benzo withdrawal, and you could end up in, sorry, I'm just passing through this, between these two boats, didn't want to get taken out by a propeller. If you get blindsided by a symptom, you may become absolutely convinced that you are having a heart attack or some other health emergency, when actually it's something else. And I'll give you an example. For me personally, akathisia, which I didn't know what it was when I first experienced it, and I was convinced I was dying. No one could have told me otherwise. I had my friend actually take me to the hospital. I didn't know what akathisia was. Akathisia, I've made several videos about it. It was categorically my worst symptom during benzo withdrawal. It feels almost like you're being barely suspended between life and death, like you're just on the edge of some, just the most uncomfortable, terrifying, distressing feeling, occupying every single square micrometer of your body. It's just absolutely excruciating. And the terror of it, the physical terror of it, makes it very easy to convince yourself that you are dying. Something catastrophic is happening to you. It's actually, if you don't know what it is, it's almost impossible to think otherwise. And I wouldn't have felt good if I knew what akathisia was when I was experiencing it, but at least I would know what was happening. Oh, this is akathisia. I'm experiencing akathisia right now. It would still be awful, but at least I could tell myself, no, I'm not having a heart attack. No, I'm not having a stroke. This is linked to the benzo withdrawal. I'm not going to die from it. I am going to be miserable. I'm going to have to try to get through it one way or another, as difficult as it is. But it in itself is not something that is going to kill me. Now, at the same time, I think it's important to know what the possible symptoms are. I would strongly advise you to avoid looking up symptoms, freestanding symptoms, separate from benzo withdrawal on Google or something like that. What do I mean? Don't, if you're having like some kind of intense chest pressure or neck pressure or some kind of insane migraines or your heart's racing, if you start looking up these symptoms, and independent from benzo withdrawal, if you just start looking up these symptoms, Dr. Google has this amazing ability to convince us that we are actually suffering from some catastrophe. And that can make things much worse, because outside of the context of benzo withdrawal, a lot of these symptoms are associated with health emergencies. So while I think it's important to know the symptoms that are possible with benzo withdrawal, and that is a long list, I mean, the scope is truly incredible. Not to say that you're going to experience all of those. Some people don't experience any benzo withdrawal at all, depending on how they got off the drug. But the scope is very large of what's possible, and knowing the symptoms in that context of benzo withdrawal is very different from just looking up symptoms independently of the experience of benzo withdrawal. The next thing I would strongly recommend, and I've said this in previous videos too, is that when you're experiencing, particularly if you're experiencing an intense bout of health anxiety, have someone to talk to. I mean, this is so important for navigating benzo withdrawal just in general, but particularly when it comes to health anxiety, I found that having another person to talk to, a supportive voice, especially if it's someone that's gone through benzo withdrawal, was incredibly helpful at just calming me down, redirecting my attention, convincing me, even if not explicitly, but just through the course of the conversation, the way that my body could calm down, it would convince me that I'm not actually experiencing a health emergency. And that was so, so important. Now, if you are really, if it's so intense and you've talked to someone and you just can't get over that hump, you can't convince yourself that it's not a health emergency, go to the doctor. There's no shame in going to see a doctor and having peace of mind. I mean, like I said with it before I took benzos, going to see the cardiologist 3 separate times. I mean, the guy thought I was crazy, but for me, it gave me peace of mind in the end after each one of the appointments. And if you are in that situation where it's just so overwhelming, do not be ashamed. Do not let that kind of potential shame or embarrassment compound things and add to your stress, thinking about, what that experience could be like going to the hospital if you didn't actually need to go to the hospital. If it's that overwhelming, just go. Just go. The last thing I'm going to say is, if you can have a technique, a tactic, something on standby that you try to put in practice when you're having an intense bout of panic or health anxiety. And I listed a number of these. I made a video, I think it's like 18 or 19 tips. Some of them are very practical things you can do in the moment when you're experiencing something. For me, breathing, learning how to breathe the right way was honestly a big part of the puzzle. I was someone that always doubted the ability of the breath. It seemed kind of like this new agey thing to me that was not really substantive. That's like just something that, it's kind of like there's not much to it. There's just like, this is something people say, oh yeah, the breath. For me, breath is just, it was just something that was, was automatic, something we don't have to think about. And then I really looked into it, really got into it. I read a lot, and then I started trying some of these techniques. And one of them that I mentioned in a previous video, which is inhaling for 4 seconds, holding your breath for 7 seconds, as I'm kind of out of breath coming up that hill right now, and then exhaling, slowly exhaling for 8 seconds, and doing the inhale through the nose specifically. This, I've found that in moments of intense panic and health anxiety, it would be really hard, and it's still hard, for me to get started with the breathing exercise. So it's kind of like, it's like having like a lawnmower that, you've got with like a rope start, a ripcord, whatever you want to call it. And pulling that cord is just so difficult to get it started. You know that if you get it started, it's going to be much easier using that lawnmower than your old push mower you've got over there collecting dust. But there could be a day where it's just so hard to yank that cord, and the motor is just not turning over, it's just not starting. And you could opt for the push motor, which is going to mean you're going to labor through, cutting your lawn. It's going to be a lot more difficult. Some people might enjoy that, the extra physical exertion, but if you've got the other lawnmower here and it's just a question of starting it. And I found it's like that for me with the breathing techniques. Oftentimes I can't get over that initial hump. It's just like getting that breathing technique going, but if I can get 3 or 4 rounds of it in, it really can calm my body down. It can really pacify me. It's surprising how effective it can be. Just that one little technique, as simple as, breathing, inhaling 4 seconds through the nose, doing a few rounds of that. I'm not going to say it's a cure-all or anything like that, but you might be surprised at how effective it can be. Now, the one last thing I just want to reiterate with all of this is that as intense as the physical symptoms can be from benzo withdrawal, and they can really be something else. I mean, they will make you question what you thought you knew about what was possible for us to experience as human beings, what our ceiling was really for distressing, uncomfortable, terrifying physical sensations, thoughts, the whole gamut of when it comes to the physical and the mental suffering. It will really make you realize that, wow, we've got this hardware in our brain that has a ceiling that's so high for experiencing this kind of torment. But what you need to know is that as awful as some of the symptoms can be, and as awful as the overall benzo withdrawal experience can be, again, not everyone has an experience that is this terrifying or stressful or debilitating, but some of us do. And for those even who are in the depths of a benzo withdrawal experience that is that intense, the benzo withdrawal itself is not going to wipe you out. It's not going to kill you. These symptoms, as strong and as intense as they are not going to kill you. They are not. And there are health emergencies we can have related to benzo withdrawal. Specifically, typically seizures are the most dangerous thing that we can experience, and that's something that can particularly be experienced by people who are coming off higher doses, especially people coming off cold turkey or on a very quick taper. And it is absolutely a danger and possibly life-threatening. But if you're into benzo withdrawal by some amount of time, and the way you got off benzos was not cold turkey, or you had a taper that was a bit more reasonable than one that was lightning quick, and you're in acute withdrawal or post-acute withdrawal, you're experiencing things that are unbelievably difficult, and things that could be possibly previously unimaginable to you. Those feelings will not in themselves be the end of you. It's very important to understand that, and to be able to tell yourself that when you're experiencing these really awful things. Because I can't count how many times I thought something awful was happening to me, physically awful. I thought I was dying. I thought it was the end. I couldn't even count how many times. And I was not telling myself, because to be honest, I wasn't convinced. I was not telling myself at the time, no, these things are not going to kill me. As awful as they are, they're not capable of doing that. So I hope that message can get through to you as well. I've got a few more videos I'm going to try to record before the end of this month. And now that I've finished that manuscript, I actually have some time to do so. So I hope to see you all soon. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you have as good a day as possible. See you soon.